We're evolving, we're learning always, no matter how long you've been in a field. Keep your eyes open, keep your mind open to broadening what you can learn. Don't be stuck in your ways of how we do things. Just because something's easy doesn't mean it's right.
Hey there, welcome to another exciting episode of Beyond the Bar podcast. I'm your host, Anisa Tova, and today we're diving deep into the world of matrimonial law. And I have a true powerhouse with me today, a matrimonial attorney, Jillian Gross. She is a founding partner at Mosberg, Sharma, Stambleck, and Gross. And she is not just any lawyer. She's been exclusively practicing matrimonial law for a long time, since 2006. And let me tell you, she's made quite a name for herself. So we're here to really get to know her outside of her legal title. Jillian, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So you and I spoke a little bit, and you've been deep in the trenches of matrimonial law for a while. I know it probably sounds strange to you. I mean, you're not that old, but you've had quite the experience. So take us back sort of to the beginning. Like, was there like a light bulb moment that made you think, you know what, being a lawyer, that's what I want to do in my life?
Uh, so being a lawyer, I would say it was less of a light bulb moment to be a lawyer. My light bulb moment came in college when I was a teaching assistant for a women's studies class. And I adored my professor and the way she thought and the way she processed things and the way she approached things. And I just like ate up everything she said. And I was once talking to her and she said, well, I went to law school and it changed my way of thinking and my experience. Now, I come from a family, my father was a lawyer. I think probably everyone assumes that's why I wanted to become a lawyer. It had nothing to do with him. No offense to my dad. I love him. But it was fully have a way of thinking. I had no idea if I wanted to be a lawyer. I don't even know that while I was in law school, I knew that I wanted to be a lawyer. It was really an educational and a thought processes journey for me. Of course, I ended up being a lawyer. I started in criminal law, and that's how I got here, being part of this legal world.
Yeah, I mean, you know what, that's great that you met a professor who made such an impression, and just sort of like almost it was almost like you subconsciously found your way to what you do today. And that is not an easy work. And entering criminal law, I mean, in addition to that, before you became a family lawyer, what was that like, and what do you feel that you had to grow through?
Um, the criminal law world was something I actually wasn't prepared for. I was an ADA in the Bronx. Um, I ended up in the appellate division, so I wasn't down in the dirty criminal court doing trial after trial after trial, getting that kind of experience. I was writing, I was researching, I had the great experience of arguing in the appellate division and in the Court of Appeals in New York, which for a second and third year lawyer is almost unheard of if you go into big law. So I definitely wasn't prepared for the incredible experience I was going to get there. But I hated criminal law. It just wasn't for me. Um, it wasn't within my wheelhouse of enjoyment at all. And I think on a purely pure happenstance, I ended up in family law. I thought that I would be interested in mediation. And I started to look into that, and I can be helpful to people. I'm rational, I'm logical, I like to problem solve. And I started talking to people and asking questions. I actually reached out to my now partner, Peter Stambleck, because we had gone to law school together and he was in family law, just to understand a little bit about that area and how my thoughts on mediation can fit in there. One thing led to another, and I ended up sitting in the offices of Aaron Samansky and Sloan, and well, then it was Sharesky, Aaron Samansky, and I ended up working there. That was it was a very choppy but uh, well worthwhile journey.
Do you remember what that was like arguing your first case?
Oh, I was scared out of my mind. I I was so nervous. Um, they really try to prepare you in the DA's office. Like, we had mock arguments, but the appellate division in Manhattan is a very grand, very beautiful courtroom. It's filled with other lawyers. Everyone, at least back then, was dressed very appropriately in their full suits. And, it's a panel of judges. Um, so it's scary. It's like nothing else. But once I started, and it wasn't like the hardest case ever to start. I felt good about it because I was ready. I was prepared. And I think the judges, to their credit, could see that I was a baby lawyer, could see that I was nervous. And I wouldn't say they gave me any special treatment, but they were welcoming in their demeanor towards me. And so they didn't make it scary, even though the environment was scary. Going to the Court of Appeals was like a whole separate issue. I was in Albany, I had to drive there, parents came. It was it was a wild situation, but it's exciting. I never thought I'd be excited by it, but it was exciting.
Excited, really?
It like gives you an adrenaline rush.
Yeah. There's, as a non-lawyer, there is something about setting your foot into like what you described, this grand architecture. We were just in DC and we saw this, we actually toured the Supreme Court, and it's like white marble and actually went into the chambers, and there's something about that, like where sort of history happens. And so I can only imagine as sort of a newcomer into the field, it's like, there's spectators and just the newness of it. And that's a skill that I think many people, especially outside of the law, are looking to hone and get better at the craft, like, public speaking, just putting yourself out there, everybody's watching. What else do you feel like the law school did not prepare you? I mean, for sure it was a great experience, but in terms of the day to day, what else do you feel like law school didn't prepare you maybe as well? Like it was like, wow, this is not what I expected.
Yeah, I mean, I just think like the practical realities of life and working and actually practicing law. Like there are, and it could be the classes I chose to take, right? So there are practical classes, and I think as you get into your third year or whenever they start offering those classes, they're very worthwhile because when you actually go to interview for a job or actually have to practice law, having those skills and knowing actually what you're going to do when you sit behind a desk in an office is very useful. Yes, of course, learning how to research, super prepared for that, sort of prepared for learning how to write. Obviously, every type of law brings with it a different type of writing and the need for different types of research. But I think just being out there and getting the job experience is really where you learn to be a lawyer. It's where you learn the law, obviously related to your trade. Um, Law school helps with tools. It doesn't necessarily help you be a lawyer.
That's a great way of putting it. Yeah, I'm hearing it's really, it needs to be a career rather than a job. and like you said, gives you the set of tools, and it's up to you what you do with it, whether it's finding your mentor, staying on up to speed with constantly evolving landscape of knowledge, information, technology. So there's a lot out there. And then in your field, family law, added to that are emotions. That's not
Lots and
easy.
lots of emotions. Yeah, I mean, to some extent, we double as therapists and we double as, social workers and sounding boards for real life problems in our
Yeah.
field. We're not dealing with companies, we're dealing with people. Um, and just because I might not be able to identify with a problem that a client's having, I have to be able to hear that problem. I have to be able to understand that problem in the context of his or her life, and then apply it to what we need to do for the case. So not every problem has a solution in our case. Not every problem is really related to our case, but you can't be dismissive. And so all of those emotions and understanding your client and learning how to approach each client differently and his or her emotional needs within the context of the matter is the tricky part. It's not necessarily their emotions, it's where do those emotions fit and how do we deal with them for this specific person and this specific family.
Yeah. It's giving them. I hear what you're saying. You don't want to be dismissive and ignore that because it's important to them, even though, on a practical level, as a professional, it has nothing to do with anything and really doesn't have a place here. But if you dismiss it, you're not going to get anywhere. Yeah,
Correct.
that's that. So you're acknowledging it and then figure out basically how to guide them to practical resolution. Now, stepping outside of your work, I remember you saying that you enjoy running.
I do. I do. I love it. It's my clearing headspace, my time to think or just, um, or as silly as it sounds, that's where I relax. I don't get to do it as much now that it's darker in the morning because I'm afraid of running in the dark in the suburbs because I'm afraid of animals. But
Not people, animals.
so I'm a little afraid of people. And in the suburbs, someone could just jump out at you. I mean, these are the things that go through my mind. So I prefer when it's light. Um, but I do love it, and it's really where I decompress.
Hmm.
I've run one marathon. I vowed I would never do it again as I was training. Really would love to do it again, but now I'm just too old.
Yeah. I don't think so. You could
Appreciate
probably
it.
you could nail it. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for that. That's I guess there's a difference between training for something with the intent of, here's a goal that, and I must put in so many miles. It almost becomes like, and I don't know if, the routine of it, does that take away from sort of the magic of running? That's more like meditation as opposed to training for marathon, where it's like, you have to put in the miles and you have to do it.
Right. It becomes more of an obligation and
Yeah.
it takes some of the fun out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the relaxation is gone for
Yeah,
sure.
that's interesting. Yeah. Doing something for fun and yeah, and passion. That's so what do you do on the weekends when you're hopefully not writing briefs and not working cases and I don't know if these days it's actually funny. It's not so much, it's not so delineated. Monday through Friday, you work and then on the weekend you play. It's sort of
Right.
it merged. So what do you do
Yeah.
when you're not working?
I spend a lot of time with my family, um, my kids. Obviously have to do the things that come along with being a mom. Uh, a lot of the things that I feel guilty about that I can't do as much during the week, like driving them places and, sitting with them and doing homework and things like that if I'm not home. So I spend a lot of time with my kids. Um, I spend time with my husband, obviously him too. Uh, but I'm not a big, we don't go out a lot. Not like a theater person. I'm a homebody. Um, I just love sitting and watching movies with them. I like to introduce my kids to the 80s movies that I grew up on. Some of them don't crack as much now. They're not as funny to them. It's like my husband and I are cracking up and they don't find it at all funny. But that's what I do on the weekends for the most part. Spend time with my kids, spend time with friends, um, doing sort of regular things, nothing very exciting.
What are some of your top favorite 80s movies?
Well, it's not from the 80s, it's from 1978, but my all-time favorite movie is Grease. I could probably recite it to you by heart right now.
Love
Very
it.
inappropriately, my parents let me and my friend watch it from a very young age. We obviously didn't understand most of the words. I think I didn't really understand them until I was rewatching it for its 20th anniversary when I was in college. Just like, oh my God, that's not appropriate. I shouldn't have been singing that song at age 5. Um, that is my all-time favorite movie.
Oh my God, we're talking the first one with John Travolta, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I
Oh yeah.
never even saw the others.
Yeah, no, that wasn't that
Blasphemy.
great. Yes, yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, there was a song from there, Grease Lightning, that was
Hmm.
just stuck in my head the other day and I couldn't stop. Yeah. Yeah,
Should
man,
do
I
the
could.
dance.
mm, yeah, I was trying to figure out where was I? I mean, yeah, I was just a few years old, but when it came out, but I was so crushing on John Travolta, not when I was 5, obviously, but like 14, 15. I mean,
Yeah,
posters everywhere.
total. I mean, he was a stud.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay, I love that one. That's so now how old are your kids?
Kids are almost 11 and 9.
So watching a movie like that, probably they'd be like, yeah,
They liked it. My
they
daughter
did.
definitely liked it more than my son. They recently watched The Money Pit with Tom Hanks. They thought it was the funniest movie they've ever seen. So I feel like that was a win for me.
Yes.
Um, yeah, they saw the movie Big. Apparently, they're Tom Hanks fans because they loved that movie also. But yeah, we're really like taking them through the hits.
Yeah. No, that's piece of history right there. That's good parenting. I I love that.
They
Oh my
think
gosh.
it's from like ancient times because to
Yeah.
them the 1900s are really a long time ago.
That's so funny. Yeah, how things are changing. Although I think some of the I think fanny packs are back, right? I mean,
Yeah,
there's definitely stuff that's coming back. Yeah, never. It's ageless. That's
yeah.
funny.
It makes you want to not throw anything out ever.
Yeah, right. It's like hidden treasures. Um, so what so lawyers like your generation is what like what advice would you give to because here's where I'm getting with that. I see many attorneys are trying to figure out basically the balance between, do I show up physically? Do I participate remotely? How do I stay up to date? And the same thing, technology, um, information. What has worked for you? What advice would you give them?
Um, Open person. I know it's not like the trendy answer. I think if you're a young lawyer, the best way for you to learn is side by side with an older lawyer. Um, there's obviously a nice balance to hit where sometimes you can work remotely, sometimes you're in the office, but you miss a lot of the training, the interpersonal skills, the ability to just walk into someone's office and ask what you think might be a dumb question, but isn't, and just learn from observing other people. So I think showing up, not being in a room in your house alone all the time is important for training your ability as a lawyer, but also as a person. Like, I think what I've seen is younger people don't know how to interact as well. They don't know how to have conversations. They don't know how to just sit and talk. It's very awkward. And if everything is done on Zoom or everything is done on the phone, you lose something. And that's important for um, counsel opposing one another. That's important for interoffice communications. And I think with clients, you know, we have a lot of clients who are now back to wanting to come in, wanting to meet face to face. And that's, I think, helpful sometimes for a certain personality type. You can really get a lot done. So to me, showing up is important. Obviously, technology is great. Being able to do certain court conferences via Zoom as opposed to schlepping downtown for our clients is good financially. It's also, it maximizes your time. It's not a waste of time for you, the court, the client, but certain things are better done in person. I'm a little old school that way.
No, it's oldie but goodie. I didn't even think about it. I mean, I'm surrounded, with well, not 15, they're early 20s. Um, and let's see, my granddaughter, well, she's almost a preteen. And you're right. It sharpens it really does impact the interpersonal skills. It's how you show up, even with your friends, the world, not just the professional. If you're staring at a tablet or the phone the entire day or even a Zoom, it's not the same. It is not the same as being able um, to face someone and having a conversation. Doesn't have to be a long conversation, but even that, it's
Right.
becoming painful. It's like, how do I say that? Can you tap this out for me? It's kind of like what I've spoke to other parents, other professionals, and their kids are like lost there. And some of them have real anxiety showing up. I've spoken to friends about even dating. It's like so much more comfortable just to sit there and swipe
Right.
and just kind of getting a thrill out of likes as opposed to going out, having a drink or whatever, grabbing a bite. So there's
I
something.
couldn't imagine somebody just like judging me based on like my picture and
Yeah.
like the bio I chose to write. Like maybe someone likes that, maybe someone is turned off by something that I wrote, but if they met me in person, they might feel differently. They might hate me. They might like me. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, and there's emotion. There's a real emotion. Hey, like, it's the same energy, but you're right. It's like what's behind. It's like it's becoming a lost art, sadly.
Yeah.
So I love that.
My
And I think,
daughter's fourth grade teacher is teaching them life skills. They have a public speaking job every other week, and they're learning things like when you get to a door, if someone's coming out, let them come out first, then you walk in. If you're lining up in the hallway, don't block the doorway. Just like, and when he said this to all the parents at, meet the teachers night, I was like, that's amazing
yes.
because nobody thinks like that anymore. Our kids are stuck on their phones or they're, totally wrapped up in what they're doing. And these basic life lessons, interpersonal skills are getting lost.
So, so, so true. And I think it's conversations with your kids. It begins at home. You have an impact. Social media or not, I'm big on what you can and cannot control. So what's within your circle and you're able to control is having those conversations, teaching your kids, guiding them, mentoring young
Mhm.
attorneys. You have a terrific, terrific law firm and great culture. And, I've interviewed Peter and he's really big on, for people showing up. So yeah, I think, this whole notion of convenience, you can do that with your groceries and order a lot of stuff on Amazon. Okay. But this is not Amazon right here, so yeah.
So true. Yeah,
So
you're right. Peter's very big on culture. We're very big on communication here. We're very big on no drama. It's part of what helps us, I think, present to the world and be good lawyers because, as we always say, like the work is hard enough. And so if you can interact with people you work with on a nice, professional, fun way, then doing the work is not as painful.
Yeah, because you have to be healthy, and confident and all that. If you have that working environment that supports that for you to be able to do the very difficult work that you do. I mean, clients are leaning on you at the most difficult times. So, the stronger the environment and the more conducive culture, the better you're able to assist.
Mhm.
So that's truly impressive. So on a final, what would be some parting thoughts?
Parting thoughts. Always hire your firm if you're a family law lawyer, because I have learned more from your email blasts and from when you came and spoke to us than I have about pensions and quadros in the last 17 years of doing this. I read one this morning and I was like, oh my God. And I went back and I fixed an agreement. I just want you to know that I'm giving you total, shout out here because I think you said it at the beginning. We're evolving, we're learning always, no matter how long you've been in a field. Keep your eyes open, keep your mind open to broadening what you can learn. Don't be stuck in your ways of how we do things because just because something, I think it's in your email today, just because something's easy doesn't mean it's right. And like we just think we're all in an ever evolving world with technology and everything that we do. We just have to keep our eyes focused on doing what's right for our clients, doing what's right in our personal lives, and not cutting corners to necessarily make it easier. Just get it done well and right.
That is really terrific message. Um, and I did not, this is not a paid, or testimonial. I swear I didn't do that. But thank you. I really appreciate that. And really that goes back to what we just talked about. It just because something is easy doesn't mean it's right. Goes back to communication and how you show up in this world. And you can have all the gadgets and tools. Just stick to the basics and just continue, just show up authentically, basically. Don't
Yes,
forget that. So thank you. I really appreciate your sharing your story here with us today.
thank you for having me. I think this is a great podcast. Humanizing the people who do the work, I think, is really amazing and very smart.
Thank you very much. And to our viewers and listeners, to find out how to get a hold of Jillian, make sure that you click on her bio below and make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Beyond the Bar Podcast. Follow us on all social media links. And until next time, stay inspired and stay curious.